Hello, everybody. This is Appeal to Reason on YouTube and Rumble. So, Donald Trump has nominated Kash Patel as the new FBI director. Super exciting. I think he's perfect for that position. He's probably the best candidate that Trump has put forward so far for any kind of either cabinet position or government official position. Cash was a part of Trump's last administration, a part of the Department of Defense, and now this will be a bigger role for him. I think he will be perfect for going after the deep state and filtering out a lot of that corruption that we're seeing in the FBI, and hopefully gain some trust for the institution again, which we as a country desperately need. He Cash went on Sean Ryan's show, his podcast, and did a great interview with him. That's the best uh, conversation I've seen that Cash has done so far. So I want to go ahead and just show you some of the highlights from that show. If you want to get to know him more, then you can always, view the full episode. I think it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours long. But here are some of the best parts of it that I came up with. Let's start with Cash talking about the deep state and just his understanding of the deep state.
It started slowly. I think Eisenhower was the first to say it in the 50s, and he started it with the defense industrial complex. He basically said, paraphrasing, if you don't control this animal, it is going to take over Washington, D.C., and it's going to take over the purposes of the government's departments and agencies. And to me, there's probably no better example than the defense industrial complex. But once you layer that in, and you combine that in with what people in these leadership positions for so long have done, which is use Washington as a revolving door. I don't see it as a Republican or Democratic thing. I see it as a swamp thing. I see it as a who's running these agencies and departments, where do they go afterwards, and how do they get back in? And all of these people have connections, direct lines of employments from the private sector to Washington and back to the same firms, the same lobbyists, the same defense and contractor or big agency. And it's been going on for decades. I think when Trump hit the escalator, these guys got on steroids because they didn't care that he was a Republican and the Republicans were to back him. They just didn't want him there to expose the corruption of the swamp, to expose the deep state. And you saw more Republicans in Trump's administration. For example, his Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, agreed to wear a wire because then Deputy Director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, supposedly another Republican, went to the number 2 cop in the country and said, I need you to wear a wire so we can get information to use the 25th Amendment against President Trump. It's kind of ironic now that we've seen Joe Biden and what the 25th is supposed to be used for, and what these guys wanted to do to exact a political vendetta. Remember, Trump exposed, we exposed during Russiagate, Andy McCabe's criminal activity while running the FBI. We exposed Rod Rosenstein's criminal activity while signing an illegal FISA, burying evidence of innocence, and lying to a federal court just to surveil a sitting president of the United States. We caught him. And
So this is great because it just shows and highlights Cash's understanding of the deep state, which anyone who has been following, these things over the past 8 years has, come to realize this for themselves. But you just don't hear government officials or, these people running the country talking about it. They kind of act like it doesn't exist. And then another interesting point that he brought up is they were trying to Donald Trump used the 25th Amendment against him, say, oh, he, flies off the handle. Oh, he's crazy. He's irrational. And that's why they wanted to, use wiretaps on him or wear a wire when having conversations with him was to get him on a recording saying something, belligerent or something. They were going to use that to try and 25th Amendment him. But all the while now, over these past 4 years, they haven't tried that against Joe Biden, which arguably would be a much more appropriate use of the 25th Amendment because the guy's barely sentient at this point. We haven't had a president in the past 6 months, basically. He's just scooting along the beaches in Delaware, trying to not get blown over by the wind and die. And then these people, tried to do this against Trump, who was clearly had his best intentions just to try and make the government more accountable and more efficient. But these people didn't want that. They want their positions of power, and they don't want anyone to question them and their authority. And that's what Trump did. He came in like a wrecking ball, and he challenged the establishment and challenged the status quo, which they did not want. They didn't want a businessman coming in and changing things. And that's going to go into, he was talking about what they were trying to do to get after Trump and get rid of Trump. That leads me to this next video. This one is one of my favorite videos. It's been out there for a while. This is from Rachel Maddow's show back in 2017. Chuck Schumer, he was the majority leader of the House at this point when this video was created. Let's see what Chuck has to say.
He's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And
This is crazy. So this is the House Majority Leader talking about the intel agencies and what they're going to do to Donald Trump because he has upset them and they feel like he has disrespected them. And I feel like no one even batted an eye, when this video came out, because he's just confirming what we already knew. And it should be a huge story. It should be a huge scandal that these people are going to come out and try and frame you like they did for the Russiagate hoax, or they're going to release audio to try and get you impeached and make up stories about a quid pro quo with the president of Ukraine. This is just crazy that it's talked about so nonchalantly. Let's go ahead and get back to Kash Patel and let's see what some of his plans are as the FBI director.
How is this going to get broken up? They seem so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, you just mentioned they're embedded in politics. They're embedded in mainstream media. They're embedded in intelligence agencies. They are former top leadership of the military that's now embedded within the military-industrial complex companies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's how many people are involved in this?
Thousands.
In the deep state.
Thousands.
How would you even begin to dismantle it?
Well, I think the first Trump administration was the beachhead, right? People were just like, you guys are full of it. And we continued to put out the truth. And years later, people are catching up to a lot of that truth saying, wait a second, you guys weren't lying back then. People being the American public. That's the weapon we need. And you guys weren't lying about impeachment. They literally made up a piece of a phone call to launch a presidential impeachment and then put me in the middle of it by making up a meeting that never occurred. But it sounded dirty at the time. And then when we finally released the transcript, everybody was like, oh yeah, there was no quid pro quo. Nothing illegal happened here. But the narrative had been out there. Now you have President Trump as a president who was impeached for the first time in however many years. And so they get their narratives, right? They don't necessarily care about the conclusory portion of their mission. They use the mainstream media to say Trump's a Russian asset.
So yeah, these people, they basically lost all their credibility. They did everything possible to try and get Trump out of office and then keep him out of office. But it didn't work because basically we've got these independent content creators now out here spreading the truth, like myself, like Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, all these guys out there that are, getting the truth out there. The legacy media doesn't have a stranglehold on information now anymore, and they hate this. And now these people failed at keeping Trump out of office, and now Judgment Day is coming for them. And who knows what they have left in them to try and keep this from happening. And I love this. I think Kash is perfect for this. Between him cleaning up the FBI, and we've got Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk with the Department of Government Efficiency coming in with hopefully a hacksaw to these government agencies and really just going to clean house. And I cannot wait to watch it unfold and just watch the legacy media light their hair on fire every day and be like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. It's like, no, we're just getting rid of the bureaucracy, and then they're going to lose even more credibility because they're going to be like, oh, this is the end of the world. He's being a fascist. He's getting rid of all these people. And then 6 months later, we're going to find out nothing's really changed. These government bureaus have just gotten more efficient, and they're making it work with less because they got rid of the people that didn't do anything at these bureaucracies anyways. Let's have one more clip of Kash talking about his plans. This is another good one.
You need to do a whole bunch of things with personnel. For like instance, at FBI, you need to stock it with a director, deputy director, and the heads of the separate divisions. Same thing at CIA and DOD that are going to support. And the media, again, is distorting it already. Trump's going to install loyalists. Kash Patel is a Trump loyalist. What does that even mean? Mm-hmm. Like, if the guy gives me a lawful chain of command authority, you want me to not execute it? That's unlawful if I violate it. He was the president. If he's the president again, the same thing, should apply. So then we need to decrease what I call government creep with personnel. The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops.
I love to hear it. When I hear him talking like this, I just get the picture in my head of that meme of Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec holding up the slash it signs. I really think I need to get those. He's got like these little pendants that say slash it. I really need to get those that I can just hold up and wave in my videos whenever someone from the Trump administration is talking about slashing the government. And just look at the guy's shirt that he's wearing here. He's got the Gadsden flag shirt on. I don't think any of us ever expected to see a director of the FBI wearing a Gadsden flag t-shirt during an interview. I love to see it. I hope that his administration is going to be filled with guys like this, with these kinds of ambitions to drain the swamp. This is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we voted for. It's what we voted for 8 years ago, and the swamp had more monsters than anyone realized. But now we've seen they've really exposed themselves, and I think we're really going to be able to come back with a vengeance this time and actually, enact the will of the people and help clean up the swamp in Washington. If you liked this video, please give me a like and a subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when I create new content, and also share this video with your friends if you think they would enjoy it as well.